Tickets demanded will increase and will add more cars. It arrives in Lugansk at 11:48. Start from Lugansk at 1:50 p.m. and arrives in Kiev at 7:59 in the morning. The train goes daily through Rudakova, Sintanyevka, Siversk, Krasny Liman, Svetohirsk, Izum, Kharkiv, Lubotin, Poltava, Решетилівка, Голове, Mirhorod, Ramadan, Lubny, and Hrubinka. Those who traveled by a similar train, by train number 19 or 20, Luhansk, Kiev, Kiev, Luhansk, and others, they know that this route is different from the train connection before. We had other connection before, but now, because of these using this route is a forced situation to go through areas where railway is not damaged. Infrastructure was renewed at Seversk, Nirkova, Svetlanova, Shentyanivka. That's where the train tracks were renewed. Um, Talking about southeast of Ukraine, we have train going to Mariupol, Konstantinivka, Odessa, beginning 17th of August instead of Lugansk Odessa train. 126 slash 125 Konstantinivka Kiev, beginning 17th of August instead of Lugansk Kiev. 910 Konstantinivka Moscow, beginning 17th August instead of Donetsk Moscow. Konstantinivka Sevastopol, beginning 17th of August instead of train Donetsk Sevastopol. 6970 Mariupol Lviv going through Kamizh Volnovakha, beginning 17th of August 2014. Train 583 slash 4 Mariupol Kiev going through Kamizh Volnovakha, beginning 14th of August instead of train 8384. Train 521 slash 522 Mariupol Kharkiv through Kamizh Volnovakha instead of train 321 322. Train 383 slash 384 Baranovich Kharkiv. Train 525 526 Kharkiv Svatove Rubizhne from 15th of August. Now it's continued to Rubizhne. As I said, train 519, 520, Kiev Luhansk beginning 21st of September. Kiev Konstantinivka from 10th of September. Its route is continued and enlarged. I'd like to inform you in order to complete the order of Ministry of Infrastructure 332, the tariffs for train tickets and cargo transportation inside of Ukraine from 1st October. The tariff will be increased by 10% in all categories of passenger cars, except for Intercity Plus and luxury car. But the passengers will not feel the increase of the cost because from 1st of October, the lowering calendar coefficient is in place, 0.93. In this way, the price per ticket will be lower than it was in January, August, when calendar coefficient 107 was applied. So, third class train Kiev Kharkiv 6364. The cost 493 kilometers. when traveled in summer, and the cost is 124 hryvnias. In the second class train, 226 hryvnias for kopecks. Beginning 1st October, the price of third class would be 119 hryvnias, 9.97, and second class coupe, 18 hryvnias. So the price actually is lower than passengers paid in summer. Increase of basic price is um, forced by raising the prices to economically justified level, where a disbalance of a passenger train is covered by cargo trains. To cover the costs and safety expenses of railway transportation. Tariffs are indexed since August 1st and will be re-indexed since October 1st. And all categories of passenger train cars will have two 10% increases, except for, like I said, luxury train cars and intercity plus trains. Railway infrastructure and uh, railway tracks are being renewed. At this time, 84 places of broken railway have been restored, as well as car train intersections and other roads were renewed. The bridges were renewed for temporary transportation in Yampil-Sivers connection, 1,076 kilometer Kindrashevska-Nova, Horedny of Donetsk Railway, and others have been restored. Other bridges have been restored. The railway track were restored in Rodakova, Sintakova, Sterevka, Fasheva, and odd rail track near station Rubizhny. Full energy supply and contact network was renewed at Lozova, Slovyansk, Konstantinivka, Skotovate, Bukina, Skratohis, Krasny Liman, Mashermet, Шпичкина, Красный Лиман, Шевченково, Куртюменко, Оленівка, Волноваха, Маріуполь, Чаплина, Красноармійська, Очеретна, Авдіївка. Social units like hospital stations were renewed. Orphanage number 1 and other stations and heat supply station in Popasna. But many railway infrastructure units still require investigation, expert assessment, and renovation. Totally, by preliminary assessment, the cost of renewal and restoration of infrastructure, railway infrastructure, will cost about 500 million hryvnias. The many railway tracks are still not restored and trains are not moving. That hurts cargo transportation and the balance sheet of Ukrainian railways. Chaplin, Yasenovata, Konstantinivka, Debaltseva are not working. Debaltseva, Mikitivka nodes are not working, and there is no possibility to send cargo from 5 cargo stations of Donetsk railways. Broken infrastructure decreases the cargo transportation and loss of significant profit. By operative data, the volumes of cargo transportation by railway for first 8 months of 2014 have decreased by 19 million tons, or 6.6% compared to similar period August of this year compared to August of last year decreases 45% because of the war. In Donetsk railway have decreased by 3 times, 4.1 million tons less compared to previous year. For example, August transportation of coal was decreased by 4.3 times. Despite the truth, the terrorists keep breaking tracks, electricity, and infrastructure units. For in 1 week, 10 different terrorist acts have been committed. Like 15th of September, the Balцево Sortovalne and the Balцеvo Krючково had a shelling on the railway, and the tracks were damaged. Not just railways tracks, but also the station of the Balцеvo were damaged. Mariupol port was announced as mined, and everyone had to be evacuated. On the same time, Shapilova station had a bombing, and the track was damaged. 19th of September, shelling caused damage to depot of the Balцеvo sorting cargo station. The roof was destroyed and the windows were blown out. Olenivka, because of the battle, the electric current was lost at Dolia, and train engine was damaged. So as we see, the destruction of infrastructure of railways continues even until today. Additional information. Unsanctioned interference with railway communication in Ukraine over last week caused certain disruptions. 9 mining announcements were made just last week, and since beginning of this year, it was 94. Last week we did not have announcements that bombs were installed on train cars, but 24 over the year. 48 events since beginning of the year of actual damage. Over last week, we had one attack against personnel, and 82 such accidents since beginning of the year. On all main train stations of Ukraine, Kyiv, Kharkiv, Poltava, Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, announce a bomb threat.
Sometimes it's absurd, 7 to 8 calls a day, and this destabilizes railway stations operations. Casualties among railway workers 78, at work 12 people, wounded 65. And regardless of that, I would like to assure you that railway workers have done, are doing, and will be doing everything necessary to maintain operations in any conditions. And this will all depend not, of course, the improvement of the situation, that is, will depend on real ceasefire, when we can start evaluation of damage, and thank you very much for this report. We'll include the statistics in our press release. It's 1+1 to a channel. I'm interested to know. It's about Luhansk Today Express, who have arrived, but behind schedule. It was behind ahead of schedule. 45 minutes. No announcements for the people who were who came to meet it. And it was supposed to arrive at 7:59. It's arrived at 7:14. Nobody knows who came to Luhansk, what was in that train, who was in that train. Can you explain the situation, why the schedule was broken, why there was no announcement about this development, and who among passengers was down that train? Thank you very much for your question. Number one, this train has just been restored in the timetable. It wasn't a traditional route for it, and that was with additional time for emergencies. So on the timetable, they designed a technical stop at 90 minutes at Yahutin and 32 at Boryspil. But because of the situation that we observe in the span between Kodarnitska of the western southern railway line, decided not to stop at Yahutin and Boryspil because it wasn't necessary and there was no getting off on passengers. At Darnitsa, the train stopped for 2 minutes, but had to stay for 24 minutes instead, and the dispatcher decided to send it to Kiev, change the gauge for the passenger train. And the situation would have been very difficult for Kiev passenger station with arrival of the trains. There was no getting on at Darnitsa, no delay, so it was rational and feasible to come to Kiev passenger station at an earlier time. And there was no information at the railway station on the arrival of this train ahead of the schedule. Of course, this is a fault that will be thoroughly investigated, and those people will be made responsible who are to be blamed for that. We have no such information. Passengers go where they want to go. We have no information about the passengers. Where does it say that we have to provide such information on arrival? If this train is Luhansky, we can calculate, do this in some other way. But if it's Astana Kiev, how can we calculate it possible? What's the necessity anyway? For you as passengers, I'm also a passenger. 400 passengers, 800 passengers. What does it change? We analyze after the arrival the passenger flow, but this is done not on the arrival but afterwards. We can provide such figures for you. There are also questions. Mr. Topchiyev, Alexander Union, tell us please, you said that on the 1st of October you raised the tariffs. So what will be the interest of Ukrainian railways because of this indexation? And earlier they analyzed losses because of the situation in Donbas, about 3 billion hryvnias, according to your estimate. Was this estimate revisited because the situation hasn't improved? Thank you very much. There's no correct number or adjusted number on the economy. The 3 billion is still the same, the standing figure, because we analyze the revenues usually. Yes, I cannot answer this question specifically, but in some time, by the 1st of October anyway, I'll be able to provide such figures for you. Are there any other questions? I'm Dmitry Yagel from the Transportation Strategy Center. About cargo, transportation Krasnoyarsk, Avdiivsk, Yasinovaty, Ilovaisk. That's the route that takes the lion's share of energy coal provided for the heat generation plants in Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast. Thank you very much for the question. Before me, you had the press conference of ATO, and we can understand that we cannot open the spans that you mentioned, at least with the same kind of throughput. We won't be able, I cannot even focus this on who can, I'm asking myself and you. It will all depend on the actual ceasefire. As soon as we get the opportunity to evaluate the damage, then we'll know about the scope of damage, the necessary arrangements for repair, and we will concentrate all the 6 lines and their capabilities there, and as soon as possible repair that damage. From my experience, I can tell you that, well, I think that all the infrastructure, it is impossible to even have a rough estimate of the damage, because the damage is unprecedented for the Soviet Union or independent Ukraine. So the damage is enormous and very big. Still, I would like to tell you that we can feel there's important areas, and we'll cover all the necessary spans to repair the lines where we have busy traffic. I don't think it will take a long time. And according to Minsk Accords, there's a special point of unobstructed access to such areas. Is there any mechanism for access to so-called Luhansk and Donetsk republics? We never interrupted the repair, regardless of the actual control of the territories. Our people provided maintenance in any conditions, and what you saying that it was in Minsk Accords, I think that on the 21st, when the Kiev-Luhansk route was restored, that was all taken into account. The process has been started. The ground has been broken, and now we're talking about Luhansk and Kiev and the cargo and passenger traffic. Thank you very much. We have a question from the audience. Extraordinary news, Volodymyr. Please tell us, do you actually form that Luhansk train from Donetsk and from Kiev? Because there was one lady who was on that train. We interviewed her, and she said that there were conductors who were asking about any Ukrainians on the train. And there were 2 rolling stocks of the trains moving from Luhansk to Kiev. There's 519, 520. It consists of Western, Southern, Southwestern, and Donetsk Railway Company. Give us time and we'll prepare this information, and if necessary, provide you with this information. On request, we can provide this information with the conductors, and there are hundreds of trains circulating in Ukraine. I cannot answer for any official on the train now. It's pointless with the specific situation. Number of the train, number of the car, name tag of that official. Provide us with proper information. We'll answer that. Now we can answer Mykola. We will be waiting for representatives of Ukrzaliznytsia. We always expect you for passenger and cargo updates, traffic updates. Thank you very much.